Good morning, all of you. Now is the screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So just we will start within 2 minutes. So in last lecture, we have discussed about the sediment rock, how the sediment rocks are formed, what is the process of sedimentary rock formation, and the classification of sedimentary rock that we have discussed in the last lecture. Okay. So today we are going to continue with the size of sediments. Okay. So we know that the sediment means the best example of the sediment. We know that these sand particles which are present in the river course. So when we look that sand particles, that is the sediment, we know that the size and shape of the sediments are different. The sand particles which are present in the river course, they are not of same size and shape. They show different size and shapes. So talking about the sizes of sediments, from they show variety in the sizes. Some sediments having larger size, we can we have seen that up to 100 diameter is also there for the sediments, and very small the sand size or less than sand size, that is soil size particles, are also present in the sediments in the river course. Okay, so we are discussing the different types of the sizes of the sediments now. Now, talking about the sizes of the sediments, here you can see towards the left hand side the size of the sediments here. At the bottom, the clay size sediments are there, followed by the silt size, followed by fine sand size particles. Next, medium sand size particles, coarse sand size particles, then granules, then pebbles. Okay, so when we look here, the size of the sediments from bottom to top, from bottom to top, the size of the sediments is increased. Okay, at the bottom, the clay size particles are there, and the when you look the size of the clay size particles, uh, the diameter of the clay size particle is less than 0.004 mm. Okay, so very small particles are there, clay size particles, followed by the silt size particles. Silt is the size which is greater than the clay. Okay, so the diameter of the silt size particles are 0.004 to 0.06 mm. Okay, now after the silt, again the fine sand particles. Okay, very fine sand particles are there, having the size 0.06 to 0.252 mm. Okay, so this is the diameter of the fine sand particles. After the fine sand particles, the medium sand particles are there, having the size 0.25 to 0.5 mm. Okay, and after that, the coarse sand is there, having the size 0.5 to 2 mm. Okay, 0.5 to 2 mm. Now the after the coarse sand, the granules are there, having the size 2 to 4 mm. Okay, and followed by the larger particles, having the size from 4 to 64 mm. Okay, so this is the size of the sediment present in the river course or desert or on the beach. They show different sizes from very small size, that is clay size particles, up to the pebble size, means which is very larger in size. Okay, so talking about the size of the sediment, so up to this mm, up to these fine size particles, all these sediments are considered as a fine sediments. The and after the and up to the pebble, this category is considered as a coarse particles or coarse sediments. Okay, so fine sediments and coarse sediments are there. Now, when you look here towards the right hand side, the various classifications are given. Now, what it indicates now here, when you look here, the angular sediments are there. Now here shapes are given. When you look here, the edges are very sharp. That's why it is considered as a angular sediment. Sub-rounded category is also there, and well-rounded category is also there. Now, when you look here in the well-rounded sediments, the edges of the sediments are more or less perfectly rounded. That's why such a type of the sediments are considered as a well-rounded sediment. And sub-rounded is the category in between angular and well-rounded. Okay, it is in between these two, angular and well-rounded. Okay, so it is considered as a sub-rounded or sub-angular. Okay, you can consider it is as a sub-angular also. Okay, now this is about the rounding of the sediments we have seen. Now we are going to discuss about the sorting of the sediments. Sorting. Okay, now what is meaning of sorting that I have discussed with you? Sorting, when you look here in this first image and in this second image, what you see, what is the difference between this first and second picture? This is the first picture and this is the second picture. What is the difference? The first picture
Uh,
is poorly
In
sorted
first
and
picture, small
Particles,
particles
small
are
permeability, sir, yeah.
well sorted.
yes, yes, well sorted and poorly sorted. What is the difference? Poorly sorted means when we got the sediments having different sizes and shapes at one place, then such a type of the sorting is considered as a poorly sorted sediments. And in the second category, that is well sorted. Now in the well sorted, what we have seen, all the more sediments are more or less same size and shape. Okay, when we got all the sediments having more or less same size and shape, then such a type of the category is considered as a well sorted sediment. Okay, and at last the grains and matrix is there. Grains and matrix. Now what is the difference between grains and matrix? Now grains means the larger sediments. Okay, the larger sediments present in the rock is considered as a grain, and very small size particles which are present surrounding to that larger grains or sediments, they are considered as a matrix. Okay, so in the grains and matrix, the larger sediments present in the sediment rocks, they are considered as a grain, and the very small size particles present around that grain, which is surrounding to that grain, they are considered as a matrix. Okay, so this is the basic things related with the sediment rock: grain size, rounding, sorting, and grains and matrix. Okay, Now, this is the size of the sediments that we have discussed. Pebble, gravel, sand, silt, clay. Pebble means having the grain size 10 mm and above. Gravel 2 mm to 10 mm. Then sand size particles 0.1 mm to 2 mm. Silt 0.01 to 0.1 mm. And clay less than 0.01. Okay. Now we are going to discuss now the sedimentary structure. Okay. Now, as we know, we have discussed in the sediment rock the different structures of the sedimentary rock, different structures of the igneous rock. Now, likewise, in the sedimentary rocks are also there. Different structures are there, similar to the igneous rock. Now, structure. What is the meaning of structure? The feature which is megascopic, means which we can see it with our eyes easily. Such a type of the features are considered as a structure. Okay. Now in the igneous rock we have discussed various structures like columnar structure, vesicular, amygdaloidal structure, flow structure, ropey structure, etc. That structure we have discussed in the igneous rock. Likewise, there are many types of the structures in the sedimentary rocks are also. Okay. And we are going to discuss the types of that structure related with the sediment rock. Now we know that the sediment rocks are deposited originally in horizontal beds. Now what is the meaning of this sentence? Sedimentary rocks are deposited originally in horizontal beds. काय meaning असेल या सेंटेन्सचं? What will be the meaning of this sentence?
म्हणजे ते तळाला साचून राहतात पृष्ठभागावर.
Yes. Means at the time of deposition of the sediments, at the time of deposition of that sediment at the bottom of river course, all the sediments are deposited in horizontal beds or layers. Okay. Now just I will show you how. Suppose this is the river water flowing in this direction. Now these sediments which are present in this river course. Okay. So these are the sediments. Now we know that when the speed of that river water decreases, all that sediments are deposited at the bottom of the river. Okay. So when it deposited or settled down at the bottom, the first layer of the sediment is formed. Again, the after some time, the second layer of the sediment gets deposited over that first layer. Okay. Now this process is going on day by day, month by month, and year by year. That's why at the bottom of river, the various layers are formed due to deposition of the sediment. And all these layers, originally, they are deposited in the horizontal pattern, or it is considered as a horizontal direction. Okay. All these sediments are deposited in the horizontal direction initially. Okay. Now what will happen later? Later deformation causes the beds to be inclined. Okay. Now after the deposition, due to various processes, these sedimentary horizontal sediment rocks get disturbed. Now what is the meaning of get disturbed? These horizontal layers may get converted into such a fold like structure due to the apply of the pressure from both the sides, or these horizontal layers may get converted into these inclined rocks or inclined position. So this type of the disturbance is considered as a deformation in the sedimentary rock. Okay. Now what is meaning of deformation? Means horizontal layers get converted into inclined or folded like structure or faulted like structure, which was original way up. Structures can give that information. Okay, and the various structures are developed due to this deformation, and we are going to discuss these types of the deformation, that is type of the structure present in the sedimentary rock, and these structures gives us the hint related with the cause of the deformation, means why these deformation or why these structures are developed, which which is the reason behind the deformation of that horizontal layer, that we can discuss or that we can study easily with the help of that structure. Okay, now we will discuss one by one that structure. Now first structure that we are going to discuss now is the bedding. Okay, so the first structure that we are going to discuss now is the bedding, or it is also considered as a stratification. Okay, bedding, or the second name is the stratification. Okay, now what you seen here, what is seen here in the bedding or stratification at this bottom diagram, what you are observing here in these mountains and hills, what is your observation now?
Soil is settled in flats.
Yes, now look at the different layers present in these mountains or in this hill. Now look at here, all the layers are horizontal and parallel to each other. Okay, all these layers are parallel and horizontal, parallel to each other and horizontal. Okay, and the thickness of each layer is very great. Okay, it looks like small here from the large distance, maximum distance. This view is from maximum distance, that's why it looks like very small, but actual the thickness of that layers are very great. Okay, so such a type of the structure where the layers are parallel to each other. Okay, the layers are parallel to each other, such a type of the structure is considered as a bedding structure or stratification structure. Okay, now what is the meaning of bedding or stratification? All the strata. Okay, all the strata. Now here look carefully, the meaning of strata is the layer. Okay, the meaning of strata is the layer. So all the stratas are parallel to each other and they are in horizontal direction, means all the layers are horizontal and parallel to each other, then such a type of the condition is considered as a bedding or stratification. Such a type of the structure is considered as a bedding or stratification structure. Bedding or stratification structure. Strata means layer. Okay, so here you can clearly observe that all the layers are horizontal and parallel to each other. Now here, this is also the one of the close view of the bedding structure. Now when you look here, now this is the one layer, this is the second layer, this is again third layer. Different layers are there. Okay, you can clearly recognize each layer from another layer. Okay, you can clearly differentiate each layer from another layer. How can you differentiate? How can you differentiate?
Color and size.
Yes,
of
yes,
layers.
yes, yes, exactly correct. We can differentiate the layers from each other with the help of its color. Okay, each layer exhibit the different color. Okay, now what is the reason behind that the different colors are present in the different layers? What will be the reason behind the change in color?
Atmospheric condition, sir.
Atmospheric condition. Okay. Another. What will be the reason behind that all these rocks shows different color?
त्यात रॉक्सची व्हरायटी असू शकते. वेगवेगळे
रॉकची व्हरायटी म्हणजे
वेगवेगळे रॉक्स असू शकतात, मिनरल.
chemical composition of that layer. Okay, which type of the chemical composition is present in each layer? On that chemical composition, the rock shows different color. So here I will give you one example here. Now these layers which I have here marked in the blue color, these layers shows the reddish brown color. Now why they show reddish brown color? Because in these
Excess
layers
analysis.
the rock contain iron content. Okay, iron content is maximum, that's why these layers show the reddish brown color. Okay, आता यामध्ये वेगवेगळे जे लेयर्स तुम्हाला दिसतात ते कशामुळे दिसतात, तर प्रत्येक लेयरचं कलर कॉम्बिनेशन वेगवेगळं आहे. आता हे कलर त्याच्या केमिकल कंपोजिशन वरती डिपेंड असतात. नाउ वेन यू लुक दी थिकनेस ऑफ दी लेयर, you can get the variation in the thickness. Some layer that is strata, आता layers ला काय म्हटलं जातं, strata सुद्धा म्हटलं जातं. Okay, or it is also considered as a bed. Okay, एकाच लेयरला स्ट्राटा म्हटलं जातं किंवा बेड सुद्धा म्हटलं जातं. Now when you look here, the thickness of each bed or strata, they show different thicknesses. Okay, some are very small in thicknesses and some are very large in thicknesses. Okay, so when you look in the sequence of the sedimentary rock or thicknesses of the sedimentary rock here, the different layers are present one over another. Okay, each layer is considered as a bed. Okay, now here one more thing is there, that is the one more phrase is there, and that phrase is the bedding plane. Bedding plane. Okay, now what is the meaning of bedding plane? Now that we want to know. Now bedding plane means that the boundary or junction between two beds. Okay, the boundary or junction between two beds, that boundary is considered as a bedding plane. Now here I have marked the bedding planes here. Now these are the bedding planes. Now can anybody tell me what is the meaning of bedding plane in Marathi? मराठीमध्ये सांगितलं तरी चालेल. तुम्हाला
दोन
बेडिंग
मधील
प्लेन
अंतर
म्हणजे काय समजतं? हा सांग.
दोन बायांमधील अंतर.
दोन
लेयर्स मधील अंतर.
दोन लेयर्स मधील अंतर. ओके, अंतर नाही आहे हे बाळांनो. काय सांगितलं मी? दी बाउंड्री और जंक्शन बिटवीन टू बेड,
त्यांना सेपरेट करणारे भाग.
येस, एक्झॅक्टली. दी प्लेस वेअर टू बेड्स आर सेपरेटेड फ्रॉम इच अदर, म्हणजे ज्या ठिकाणी दोन बेड्स एकमेकापासून सेपरेट होतात ती जी जागा असते त्या प्लेसला काय म्हटलं जातं? बेडिंग प्लेन म्हटलं जातं. ओके, नाउ कॅन एनीबडी टोल मी व्हॉट इज द रिलेशन बिटवीन बेडिंग प्लेन अँड बेड? बेडिंग प्लेन आणि बेड मध्ये काय रिलेशन असेल?
बेडिंग म्हणजे लेयर्स होता ना सर एकमेकावर.
हा, बट
आणि
व्हॉट इज
बेडिंग
द
म्हणजे
रिलेशन बिटवीन बेडिंग प्लेन अँड बेड? बेड आणि बेडिंग प्लेन मध्ये या ठिकाणी काय रिलेशन असेल?
बेडिंग सर एक लेयर एक लेयर पासून एक लेयर तयार होत जातो सर, म्हणजे
हा.
एकमेकावर एक असतो सर बेडिंग सर.
ओके,
आणि
आता-
बेडिंग प्लेन सर
बेडचं
हा.
स्ट्रक्चर बेडिंग प्लेनवरून डिसाइड होतं.
Yeah. Okay. The simple meaning in the bed and bedding plane is that bed and bedding planes are always parallel to each other. Uh, Only remember this sentence. Bed and bedding planes are always parallel to each other. Bed आणि bedding plane नेहमी एकमेकाला काय राहतात, पॅरलल राहतात. ओके. नाव बेडिंग प्लेनची मी डेफिनेशन तुम्हाला सांगितली. काय सांगितली डेफिनेशन? The boundary or junction between two beds or the area which separates two beds, दोन बेड्स ना सेपरेट करणारा एरिया किंवा दोन बेड्सच्या मधलं जे जंक्शन असेल, बाउंड्री असेल, त्या बाउंड्रीला किंवा त्या जंक्शनला काय म्हटलं जातं, बेडिंग प्लेन म्हटलं जातं. ओके. नाव आय वॉन्ट डेफिनेशन ऑफ द बेड layer. Okay, now we know that these are the various layers and we have to know the definition of bed, or it is also known as a strata, or in simple word it is also known as layer. Okay, now what will be the definition of bed, strata or layer?
Each layer parallel, sir.
Each layer parallel. Layer. Okay, each layer is parallel.
Deposition of sediments in a horizontal plane is called bed.
Okay. Now we have to use the bedding plane in the definition. Okay, we have to use this word in the definition of the bed or strata. बेड किंवा स्ट्राटाचे डेफिनेशन करायला आपल्याला काय वर्ड यूज करायचे आहेत? बेडिंग प्लेन हा वर्ड यूज करायचा आहे. तर या बेडिंग प्लेन वर्ड यूज करून तुम्ही त्याचे डेफिनेशन काय कराल?
The layer above or below the bedding plane.
Okay. The simple definition of the bed or strata with the using word bedding plane is that the definition is the area bounded by both the sides with bedding plane. Okay. काय सांगितलं मी? The area which is bounded by both the side by bedding plane. सिंपल मिनिंग काय सांगितलं मी तुम्हाला, की असा एरिया की त्याच्या दोन्ही साईड कशानं बाउंड झालेले आहेत? बेडिंग प्लेननं बाउंड झालेले आहेत. बाउंड होणे म्हणजे प्रेझेंट असणं, म्हणजे त्या लेअरच्या दोन्ही साईड, त्या ज्या एरियाच्या दोन्ही साईडला म्हणजे टॉपला आणि बॉटमला जर बेडिंग प्लेन प्रेझेंट असेल तर त्या दोन बेडिंग प्लेनच्या मधला जो एरिया असतो त्या एरियाला काय म्हटलं जातं? बेड किंवा स्ट्राटा म्हटलं जातं. ओके, सो दिस इज द सिंपल मिनिंग ऑफ द बेड और स्ट्राटा. Okay. Now we have discussed the meaning of bed, bedding plane, etc. Okay. Now here, when you look here, the different layers are here. So here, this is the first layer. Now here, when you look here, आता पहिलं याच्या अगोदरची जी डायग्राम म्हणजे कोणती? हे पिक्चर याच्या अगोदरचं, दिस पिक्चर अँड दिस पिक्चर, यामध्ये तुम्हाला डिफरन्स काय बघायला मिळतोय? व्हॉट इज द डिफरन्स?
यामध्ये आयर्न कंटेंट जास्त होतं.
ओके, आयर्न कंटेंट ठीक आहे.
आणि
लुक ॲट थिकनेसेस ऑफ बेड. बेडचे थिकनेसेस बघा.
लेयर्स.
हा सर, इथं मोठे सर, इथं लहान आहे.
थिकनेस
कमी आहे सर, कमी आहे.
येस येस. या ठिकाणी या दिस इज ऑल्सो ए बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर. ओके, दिस इज ऑल्सो ए बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर. हे सुद्धा कोणतं स्ट्रक्चर आहे? बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर आहे. ओके, बट there is difference in the thicknesses. Now here, when you look all the layers, the thicknesses are in millimeter. Okay, the thicknesses are in millimeter. Very small layers are there. Okay, so this structure where the thicknesses are in millimeter, this layer, this structure is considered as a lamination. Okay, just a minute, I will write here lamination. Lamination म्हणजे काय? It is same as bedding structure, but the thicknesses are in millimeter. The sedimentary structure where all the beds are horizontal parallel to each other, and the thicknesses are in millimeter. That is, the beds are very small in the thicknesses. Such a structure is considered as a lamination structure. Okay, only the difference is in the thicknesses when compared to the stratification or bedding structure. Now bedding plane. Okay, आता मगाशी मी तुम्हाला बेडिंग प्लेन म्हणजे काय ते सांगितलेलं होतं. आता बेडिंग प्लेन आणि जॉईंट्स मध्ये बऱ्याच वेळेला काय होतं, कन्फ्युजन होत असतं. ओके, नाव हिअर वेन यू लुक हिअर, दीज lines are considered as a bedding plane. Okay, which I have marked in the red color. Okay, red color मध्ये मी ज्या lines mark केलेल्या आहेत, that lines are considered as a bedding plane. Okay, and these vertical lines or inclined lines present in the rock. Okay, these vertical lines or inclined lines present in the rock, these lines are considered as a joint. Okay, and these horizontal lines present in the rock are considered as a bedding plane. Okay, joints आणि bedding plane मधला difference लक्षात आला. Bedding planes are always horizontal or parallel to the layers. ज्या डायरेक्शन मध्ये लेयर्स असतात त्या डायरेक्शन मध्ये बेडिंग प्लेन असतात. ओके, अँड जॉइंट्स आर अक्रॉस दी बेडिंग प्लेन अँड लेयर्स. जॉइंट्स हे कसे असतात, बेडिंग प्लेन आणि बेडला अक्रॉस मध्ये तयार झालेले असतात. और जॉइंट्स और इट इज ऑल्सो कन्सिडर्ड एज ए फ्रॅक्चर. ओके, जॉइंट्स और इट इज ऑल्सो कन्सिडर्ड एज ए फ्रॅक्चर. Now another is the development of cross bedding. ओके, आता या ठिकाणी आपल्याला क्रॉस बेडिंग हे स्ट्रक्चर बघायचं आहे. आता या ठिकाणी जर तुम्ही बघितलं, क्रॉस बेडिंग म्हणजे काय सांगू शकाल तुम्ही? सो दिस इज ए क्रॉस बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर इन दी रॉक. रॉक मध्ये तयार झालेलं हे क्रॉस बेडिंग आहे.
Inclined and horizontal layers, sir.
Yes, inclined and horizontal layer. Okay, means it is a special type of the structure where the beds or bedding planes above and bottom are not parallel to each other. Each layer show different direction. Some layers are in horizontal direction, some layers are in inclined direction. So not all beds and bedding planes are parallel to each other. They show difference in the orientation. Okay, then such a type of the structure is considered as a cross bedding structure. Okay, cross bedding structure. Now when you look here, just wait, I will show you first bedding plane. Okay, so here these are the bedding planes. Okay, you can easily recognize the bedding planes in the rock. रॉक मधल्या बेडिंग प्लेन तुम्हाला इझिली रेकग्नाइज करता आल्या पाहिजेत. या ठिकाणी हे बेडिंग प्लेन्स आहेत. सो दी लाइन्स विच आय हॅव मार्क्ड इन दी रेड कलर, दीज आर दी बेडिंग प्लेन. ओके, आणि यामधले हे छोटे छोटे लेयर्स आता तुम्हाला बघायला मिळतील. ओके, आता याचं ओरिएंटेशन या डायरेक्शन मध्ये आहे. ओके, याचं पुन्हा असं स्लाइटली इन्क्लाइनड आहे. काही ठिकाणी हे हॉरिझॉन्टल्स आहेत इथे. ओके, पुन्हा हे इन्क्लाइन झालेले आहेत असे. ओके, मीन्स दे आर नॉट पॅरलल टू ईच अदर in each layer. So such a type of the variation in the rock layer is considered as a cross bedding. Okay, now how this cross bedding is formed?
Sir, या bedding
cross
chemical
yes.
composition same का? म्हणजे या दोन्ही जे बिल्डिंग आहेत त्याचे लेयर्स आहेत म्हणजे
अपोजिट डायरेक्शन सर, जेव्हा इकडे पण पाणी येऊ शकतो सर, इकडे पण पाणी येऊ
Yes,
शकतो सर,
yes,
अपोजिट
yes.
डायरेक्शन वाटत.
हा बरोबर, एक्झॅक्टली करेक्ट. म्हणजे काय होतं की आता या ठिकाणी मी तुम्हाला दाखवलेलं आहे की वॉटरमध्ये डिपॉझिट होत असताना, आता खालच्या 2 डायग्राम बघा, वॉटरमध्ये डिपॉझिट होत असताना वॉटरचा जो करंट आहे म्हणजे स्पीड जी असते आणि डायरेक्शन जी असते ती कॉन्स्टंट राहिली तर ते एकसारखे बेड त्याच्यावरती डिपॉझिट होत राहतात या ठिकाणी. ओके, आणि तेच करंट मध्ये डायरेक्शन मध्ये थोडासा फरक पडला, ओके, किंवा स्पीड मध्ये थोडासा फरक पडला तर त्यांचं ओरिएंटेशन या ठिकाणी चेंज होतं. ओके, तसंच विंड मध्ये, आता डेझर्ट एरियामध्ये सुद्धा असं क्रॉस बेडिंग तुम्हाला बघायला मिळतं. आता या ठिकाणी जे लेयर्स डिपॉझिट झालेले आहेत, विंडचे डायरेक्शन या साईडला आहे. थोड्या वेळानं काय होतं की विंडचे डायरेक्शन चेंज होते, विंड पुन्हा ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन कडून फ्लो व्हायला लागली की या डायरेक्शन मध्ये हे लेयर्स त्याच्यावरती डिपॉझिट होतात. म्हणजे डायरेक्शन आणि स्पीड ज्यावेळेस चेंज होत जातं त्यावेळेस ते डिपॉझिट होणारे जे सँड पार्टिकल्स असतील त्यांची ओरिएंटेशन सुद्धा त्या ठिकाणी काय होतं, चेंज होत जातं. ओके, दॅट्स वाय या ठिकाणी तुम्हाला बघायला मिळतं की यामध्ये बॉटमच्या लेअरचं ओरिएंटेशन आणि टॉपच्या लेअरचं ओरिएंटेशन या ठिकाणी वेगवेगळ्या डायरेक्शन मध्ये डिपॉझिट झालेले तुम्हाला बघायला मिळतात. ओके, so this is the reason behind the formation of cross bedding, that is when the speed and direction of river water or wind is changing, that time the cross bedding structure is formed in the rocks. ज्यावेळेस रिव्हर वॉटरचं किंवा विंडचं स्पीड ज्यावेळेस चेंज होतं त्यावेळेस त्याच्याबरोबर फ्लो होणारे जे सँड पार्टिकल्स असतील त्यांचं स्पीड सुद्धा त्या ठिकाणी काय होत असतं, स्पीड आणि त्यांचे डायरेक्शन काय होत असते, चेंज होत असते. आणि फायनली ज्यावेळेस रॉक तयार होतो त्यावेळेस तो असा क्रॉस बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर मध्ये तयार झालेला तुम्हाला बघायला मिळतो. ओके, सो दिस इज अबाउट दी क्रॉस बेडिंग स्ट्रक्चर. Now here we will take a small break of 5 minutes. Okay, and after 5 minutes we will rejoin. ओके, या ठिकाणी आपण काय करूया, एक स्मॉल ब्रेक घेऊया आणि ब्रेक नंतर आपण पुन्हा हा जो पॉइंट आहे सेडिमेंट रॉक स्ट्रक्चर तो आपण काय करूया, कंटिन्यू करूया. ओके, थँक्यू.